Pyro. Pyro is a class that has a lot of interesting things going on in it. You can learn better shotgun aiming, learn how to reflect projectiles, learn better flare gun usage. There's a lot going on with the class. The class heavily benefits from learning how to use your other weapons alongside your primary, rather than letting your primary do all of the work for you. But it wasn't always like that. Back when the game was released, the class didn't have any air blast, any good secondary weapons to pick from, and worst of all, no real playstyle where Pyro can go above and beyond the other classes, which is still a point of contention for people today. His primary weapon is a short-range weapon no matter which one you choose, and he heavily benefits from his secondary in pretty much every playstyle you can think of. It did take a long time for the class and 2 specific updates to get him to this location though, and speaking of updates, one of the updates I want to talk to you about is the Pyroland update. All the way back in 2012 when the game was 5 years old, which is pretty fucking old for a game to still have an active player base, mind you, the TF2 team released the first major update for Pyro, and in it gave him some new weapons, the final meet the video in the series, and most importantly for today's topic, the Pyro Vision Goggles. The Pyro Vision Goggles is a cosmetic that is available for new players to earn by simply nominating someone who is wearing the goggles themselves. While wearing them, some minor things are changed, like the health packs change from medical items to cakes, the gift players turn into fun little toys and trinkets when exploded, and the kill feed gets changed slightly, saying people are now best friends with each other rather than being dominated. But there's one more change that is important. On the Valve main maps in the game up to this point, they have a brand new art direction to them, changing them from the old style of deserts and industrial components to being covered in candy, rainbows, and pretty colors as far as you could see. This change was done only on a few maps though, since it was only done on the official Valve made maps, which means only 9 of the maps got the makeover. So with this information at hand, I decided to play only on Pyroland for 30 days, with a few rules attached to it. I'm not allowed to play a different map, and I'm only allowed to use the weapons that would be found in Pyroland, which means my 2 choices of weapons are the Rainblower and the Lollipop. And since the Lollipop is just a reskin of stock axe, which isn't a good melee for Pyro anyways, I pretty much am landlocked to the primary weapon. 2 more rules. I have to get a Hail Zone Rainblower by the end of the month, and I would like to get the Great Deflate achievement, which is for killing 79 enemies who have the Balloonicorn pet. Now you may be asking yourself why I'm doing this in the first place. Good question! Now the first 10 days of the challenge went as well as you would expect. I forgot their fucking voices are higher pitched. Oh my god. Did I just get fucking taunt killed? Did I just get taunt killed on the first fucking day of this challenge? It gave me a good feel of what I was going to go through over the duration of the challenge, which is a lot of WM1. Yeah, people don't like being killed by the very simple tactic from the Pyro, which means that a lot of my challenge is going to be aided by Air Blast. Without the help of any secondary, I need a tool that can help me in times that I need it the most, such as an enemy I can't deal with gets too close to me, or a rocket is about to kill me. The only tool that is able to help me in these times is my Air Blast. It's my one way of doing damage outside of a short range. I also have my Lollipop, which again, isn't being used too much due to the class not benefiting from stock melee, unless say random crits are turned on. My playstyle has switched from heavily depending on my secondary to just blindly running into the enemies hoping that I can get a few kills. Now this may work in casual servers cause some players are just stupid, but in community servers with people who know how to play the game, it's a bit more rough. You couldn't get a good leg up on scouts who have a counter to you with their speed and movement, you had to hope that any demo or soldier is easy to reflect, and you had to hope that you could get around the sentry guns. It's not the best. Before you had some movement options to get around people and to roam around the maps in different ways. Now I've duct taped my finger to W. Now I only have 9 maps in total to go around, but I gotta be honest, a lot of these maps aren't that great for Pyro. These maps are colorful, they're bright, they're cute, they're filled with so many colors that aren't found in the game normally. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens in the game with this mode turned on. Is that the fucking skybox? Is that the top of the skybox right there? Okay, there's no other way to put it. This game looks like it had a box of crayons melted on top of it. It's quite goofy, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy it exists. It makes me wonder what else could have been put in the game had they went further with more maps, or if Valve made their own maps instead of letting the community do everything for them over a decade at this point. But forgetting that, how do these maps work for Pyro? Well, in regards of how they play out, not the best. So not only have I handicapped myself to the point where I feel like I'm the worst class in the game, but a lot of these maps aren't Pyro friendly. Not a lot of good flank routes or areas where there are tight corridors, lots of open areas for people to see me coming from a mile away, and my weapon only does short range damage. I have one weapon that is being used throughout the majority of the challenge, and my melee is nearly useless. Actually, let's look at why it's useless. So in regards to stock melee, these weapons for the classes can either be fine or completely useless. Pyro is in the camp of completely useless most of the time. And why is that? Well, let's take a look at the similar class in these regards, the Demo Man. Demo Man shares some similarities to Pyro, with the same amount of health and walking speed. So why are these two identical items so different from each other? Well, it all comes down to the context of the class that the weapon is on. The Pyro is a short-range class up front, and he does all of his damage from short to medium range, which also covers melee range. So most of his melee weapons are usually reserved for any utility. Demo Man, on the other hand, is an explosive class. His two main ways of dealing any damage also hurt him. So him having a melee weapon with no upsides or downsides in relation to the rest of his melee weapons is actually a great choice, just because of how dependable the weapon is. You can pop it out anytime to hurt a class that's way too close to you, while for the Pyro, it's smarter for him to use the flamethrower almost all of the time. The only time I found the Lollipop useful is when I was fighting a Darwin Danger Shield sniper, but I still needed the Rainblower to get the kill. So 30 days is all I have to get every kill I need, and I realize that most of these maps are not fit for Pyro to play on. It doesn't help that I have to play like a complete idiot to even get kills, because again, I have no proper way of doing damage. The most damage I can do is psychological damage when someone starts bitching in chat about my playstyle. So what can I do? Well, thankfully there is a map I can play on called 2 Fort. 2 Fort is not a fun map by any means, and I am floored that there are people in this day and age that actively play on this map. It's not a capture the flag map, it's a deathmatch map, and no one can tell me otherwise. I mean, look at it, it has one flank route that can be blocked by a sentry gun, the main entrance to the other team's side of the map can be blocked by a sentry gun, the area where you leave spawn can be covered by snipers, but forget all that. That is under the assumption that the people on this map are actively playing the map. A lot of the time, people will just turn friendly and not want to play the game at all. Why is that a problem? Well, I could explain it in detail. It's probably easier if I just show you my live reaction to trying to play the game when the server goes friendly. And then nobody pushes in with me because it's fucking 2 Fort and everyone's fucking friendly, so I'm the only one playing the fucking game. It's not fun, but thankfully there is another map that people actually like to play, called Hightower. I played a ton of Hightower for my Market Gardener video, and I found a lot to like about the map. It's got the Hightower, it's got a full health kit I can camp out, and I can do this cool little jump to harass the snipers, because harassing snipers is morally correct. The majority of my playtime was spent on this map, and thankfully, it had a lot of servers to pick from on the community side. Now, there's another reason why the community servers were heavily in my rotation. Having a good main area to get a lot of the kills was very good. These servers had people that are readily available for me to play with. Finding a game in the morning took a long time because no one is playing during these hours, and the servers I do find in casual are from Russia. So having a community server up 24/7 with players on it is very useful. Now I have 30 days to get this challenge completed. Dividing 8,500 by 30, I get around 283 kills I need per day, which is a fair good amount of kills to get. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to remember every other class can fight mid-range. I can't. I am alone in that regard, and to be honest, it feels like suffering. I miss my secondary. I just want to use 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 my secondary. And doing all this stupid stuff is reminding me how useful the secondary weapons are for Pyro. I just hope that the rest of the challenge isn't as long. The next 10 days of the challenge were the most rough part of the challenge. It really reminded me that I was actually going to go through with this and that I couldn't have backed out at this point. Sunk cost fallacy and all that jazz. But I should probably mention the 283 kills per day again. I can get 283 kills in around 2 to 2.5 hours. Now that doesn't seem like it's too long of a time, but the problem is that I'm doing the most brain-dead playstyle on one map a ton. Now why am I playing this map the most? Well, besides the mere fact that this is the only map in the pool that has a decent amount of people playing and a good amount of community servers to pick from for it, the big reason is that I have a job. If I have something going on for a complete day, it will make those 283 kills roll over to the next day, meaning that it will take me 5 hours of playtime in order to get back to where I need to be. Now this is a long time to be playing the game. Having touching grass was not on my bingo card of problems. I needed as much time of my life dedicated to playing the game and thus created a new problem with this challenge. The entire time I felt like I was revolving around the game in the worst way possible. My life usually is revolving around the game, but back then I could choose which class I played, which playstyle and weapons, and most importantly, maps that I could play on. Valve servers are fucked at the moment with bots, so trying to play the game without them ruining the server is a bit of a challenge, and trying to balance the other maps with Hightower also proved to be difficult. Thankfully, Hightower has the edge of the map that I can air blast enemies off of. I decided it was the best and easiest way for me to get kills on the maps since I could camp in the buildings right next to the edge. Except there was one problem. You can't get kills with your strange flamethrower through these memes. So all of these clips of me blasting people off the edge of the map are completely invalid. So this method is only useful for making sure more problematic enemies are killed quickly. But thankfully, I can reflect projectiles back to their owners, which proved to be very useful in times of need. Except those also don't count towards your strange count. That also has its own strange part, so I can't get kills with that facet of the weapon either, which means that the best way to level up the weapon is to WM1 throughout the entirety of it. And let me tell you how brain dead that tactic is. I don't have anything to combo off my other weapons with. I run into the worst of situations to pray that I can get at least one kill because I know I won't be able to survive. Before, I would be able to tell when a situation was good for me, and now I just have to blindly run in and hope I get a good few kills with my life intact. Gone are the days of getting to the front lines quicker with the power jack. Gone are the days of long-range damage of the flare guns. And gone are the days of quick damage with a panic attack. It's just rainbow flames. And I gotta say, if you're a person who complains about WM1 being overpowered and needs to be nerfed, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're not good at the game. There have been several times when I couldn't do anything, since there were sentry guns around position, there were snipers to hell and back, there were heavies and soldiers getting pegged by their medic girlfriends. I, as a WM1 exclusive Pyro, cannot do much. Everything around this challenge is destroying me. It's brutal. I don't even know how to fill out this script, because what is there to say about going on the same map for nearly a month straight? And I'm starting to think that the bright colors and lights are getting to me. I used to eat respectable food, and now I'm just eating sweet tarts for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had a wide variety of music I listened to, now it's just drum and bass, and I'm starting to think that the entire rainbow-colored maps are just gay propaganda. Okay, forgetting all that stuff, I should probably talk about the other maps that I played on a bit that aren't Hightower. 2 again is not the best map because of its design and how easy it is for Pyro to get fucked over if he's playing any playstyle that isn't Pyro Shark. Dust Bowl can be an alright map if it's on the first 2 points of the map. The third point doesn't have a lot of areas for Pyro to really succeed in and can be tough to break through without the help of a medic. Badlands and Viaduct are actually pretty good maps to play on as well. In fact, any Koth map would have been great because there isn't really an abundance of engineers and snipers like there are on Payload or Control Point maps. So as a Pyro, I'm actually able to run in and, believe it or not, play the game. Gravel Pit is a map that I admit I'm not too familiar with, but I actually enjoyed it. Most of my time on this game is spent on Payload or Koth, or whatever maps that Uncle Topia is playing, and a lot of the time it isn't Gravel Pit. But I actually did enjoy the map and had a lot of opportunities to get kills easily. I'm gonna have to play on these maps more because I'm not too well versed in many of them. The Payload maps that are in aren't great for Pyro. While Payload is my favorite game mode, it's not the best for Pyro, and it gets even worse when one of the weapons isn't usable in their entirety. Gold Rush is a 3-part map, but to be honest, there isn't really a good part that's great for Pyro, since each one is so choke heavy. Badwater is a bit better because there are more areas that aren't dominated by NGs and snipers. Both of the teams on this map have a good chance for Pyro to get kills, and Doomsday was only played the one time, but I feel like it was a fine map for Pyro since a lot of it plays out like a DM map. Now thankfully, we got one of the challenges done. Yes! I earned the Great Deflate achievement because there was a few people on the servers I was on that actually had the Balloonicorn pets on. Apparently, I found a good few people wearing one of them even after the challenge was done, so if you want to get this achievement, it's not too difficult to get. On the plus side to this, if you catch a spy that is disguised as another player wearing one of the cosmetics and kill them, it still counts towards the achievement. But with all that, ends the 20th day, meaning we are on the last leg of the challenge, and I am very happy about that fact. It is the last 10 days of the challenge, and can I just say, I am ecstatic. It's getting closer to the day, I don't have to think about this challenge anymore, and I'm feeling better as the days goes by. In fact, I think it's time to reflect on what I've done. I know this may be beneath me, but I'm happy I pissed a good few amount of people off with my playstyle. I know it's silly, but making someone rage with the worst playstyle for Pyro does bring me a bit of joy. And one thing I'm shocked even happened is that I got this kill icon in the kill feed. Yo! And before you ask, yes, this is something to be proud of. I have 500 hours on this class, and it's only happened to me one other time. And the big thing here is... Holy shit, I said my own channel! And the cool thing here is that I got not one, but 2 hat drops. No way I found 2 hat drops in the making of this fucking video. What? I am floored that I got 2 hat drops within a month time frame of each other, especially the second hat. The killer exclusive is an amazing hat drop. It feels good that I don't have to spend hours playing Hightower anymore. Well, it's nice that I'm not going to be looking at this pretty pink vomit looking game anymore. I do feel like I am gonna miss it when this is all over. I tried playing through some other maps, but seeing as I was a bit behind, I had to usually just end up playing the same map over and over again. And can I just say, some of you server hosters need to cool it with the plugins. Skyle and UGC were the main hosters I was usually on, and it had so many plugins that the game ran at such a low frame rate, which makes everything much worse. Yes, I know that I'm a Pyro, so what I'm doing isn't too aim dependent, but it still sucks playing the game at 5 frames per second. Getting to the final days of the challenge was both parts stressful and exciting. Exciting with the fact that I didn't have to do the challenge anymore soon, but stressful since if I miss a good chunk of time, it will be much worse than earlier in the challenge. Lately, I've been getting much better about playing daily, but sometimes daily life is just gonna happen. With each passing day, I'm reminded of my secondary weapons and useful melee weapons that would have aided me in this challenge. All the fun playstyles that Pyro has in his arsenal that would have been much more fun than using the one weapon for an entire month straight. I'm going to be able to use the panic attack and Pyro Jack and be a completely unique Pyro. I'm going to be able to play the game like I want to again. And it's the final day, and I had to play for so long, but with every kill, every moment that I was working towards this challenge meant that I was closer to being done with it. Nearing the end, I just needed 100 more kills, then 50, and then soon enough, I saw myself only needing kills in the single digits. Then finally... Oh... Finally... It's over. I got the final kill. At 11:40 at night, on the final day of the challenge, I got the final kill I needed to be done with the weapon. It was over, I didn't need to think about using the weapon anymore, it was going to be out of my arsenal for good, and it's another weapon that I got to a hail zone so I don't even have to think about touching it anymore. Life is finally good again. Oh, thank God the game is finally playable.